Happy Sunday.
I was just trying to fix my hair.
You.
I made it worse. I don't even know what's going on.
If you are listening, it looks like
it looks like the 80s. Like, oh my God.
It looks like there is a squid attacking your head right now.
I have to take it out.
It
We're
is
all like, leave it up. Leave it up.
It is really flipping humid in New Jersey, as is the case in our quote-unquote recording studio,
man cave,
which is in the garage, which is not air conditioned.
It's not air conditioned.
I gotta fix that. There's actually a vent right behind us. I just haven't cut something into it.
That's all you need to do.
Well, it's not just that easy, but you
just have to put a hole.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, I could totally just cut a hole in it, but I would have to put a vent in it. But
this is the man cave.
Anyway, I digress. It's been a week.
We need to start bringing people on again.
It's been 2 weeks.
We need to chat about that.
Well, a fantastic reminder. This is Ungovernable. I'm Matt. That's Jocelyn. 2 weeks ago, we had an absolutely fantastic guest, Mark Hughes.
Oh my God, that was so fun.
And I almost feel like we had to take a week off. Like, we didn't have to take a week off. I just didn't feel like putting everything together because we had so much stuff talking. Like, we'll talk about it. We have so much stuff going on right now.
We have so much stuff going on.
Last week, I was like, you know what? I need to take a deep breath.
But have you done this since you've been clear-faced?
That's a good point.
I don't think so.
I am not a different person. Though I might look like one.
But I like it's like growing in now. It's not like that like shiny stuff.
Well, no, I'm going to have... So we'll talk about it. I had to shave and cut the hair and everything. Like, I have short hair now. I had to shave and do all the things because I have a monkey suit wearing job.
Our daughter cried and cried.
She did. She was like, I don't know you anymore. And
pretty much.
I'm not going to call you daddy.
She really did.
She was like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had so much. And obviously we can talk about the election. You have a beer. I just have coffee because
I have coffee and I have water and I have a beer. I didn't know what I'd want.
If I drink talking about the
that's the only way to do
debate, I'm gonna get sloppy and it's gonna be
that's
atrocious.
The only way to do it because it was insane.
What? Like literally.
And I only watched a small part of.
That's right.
I couldn't even.
You were spared from most of the train wreck.
I couldn't watch it.
Yeah.
I got a sense of it. Like you brought me up at like what 9 or 10.
Yeah, we were like the debate was like 45 minutes in when you started.
I was like, let's watch Bones.
Yeah, you were done with it. Yeah,
it was done.
So before we talk about the debate, let's just talk about what's been going on recently. So like, I had to get a corporate job again, and
this is good for you.
Wait, the trimming or the
job the motivation,
the camaraderie of the office again.
I don't know about the camaraderie of an office.
No,
I don't know.
We'll see.
Know what that means.
Hopefully, I don't end up pissing people off because typically, when I was in corporate America, I was good at keeping my mouth shut. For the last couple of years, I've not been good at keeping my mouth shut. So
I think it's good though. I think like the routine is good for you. Like you're not a quad right, so you're good.
Yeah.
You can do
I'm definitely not a quad right, but I'm also not a quad left.
No, you only have one left.
Yeah, but I need like a little bit of structure.
I have 3 drinks and I don't know which one to choose every time I look to the right.
Just don't mix them because
I don't even know.
I think if you mix beer with any of those other 2 drinks, I think the baby Jesus might cry. But yeah, so I had to get a corporate job or a corporate kind of job. It's actually not a corporation. It's kind of like a family-run affair over there. I won't obviously talk about the name of the company or anything I'm working for, but it's back in the insurance and risk management world. So I'm back kind of like doing what I used to do when I had the agency and pre-COVID and everything like that. And from my standpoint, it was just the most effective way to get to an income point where we weren't feeling stressed. And while you continue to get to work on some stuff, I get to work on some stuff too. It's just I have to dedicate a good portion of my week now toward paying bills and stuff. But I think that takes a lot of stress off your shoulders too, in order to work on soul art and cash record reading and all the good stuff, all yoga nidras that you're doing, which, by the way, you've been doing absolutely fantastic at recently.
I do. I've been putting out a lot of yoga nidras.
Yeah.
And I breached 100 followers on Insight Timer.
That's awesome.
Which it's taken me a while, but like, I just only started and I don't really know any of my followers. And they're from all over the world, which is super cool.
That is a question I was going to have for you is, so a lot of your stuff goes on Insight Timer, and that's where a lot of people follow you for those types of things.
Yeah.
But how do you interact with people on Insight Timer? Like, can you?
I do live events.
Okay.
I can comment and I have live events.
Okay.
And then people comment or like review my tracks and I can reply.
Yeah.
And then I also can run in the courses I run. Like I have 2 courses right now. And then whenever I go in, I can like pose questions and I can, yeah. I don't know. There's probably other ways I could interact. I don't even know them yet. I'm just still learning Insight Timer.
Yeah. And if anyone's unfamiliar, it's just an app that you download.
Free.
There's a free, and then there's a paid, like a
someone
VIP
told me
version.
you have to put your credit card in case you do want to, like, because you can donate. So I think they take your credit card, but you don't use it. Like if you use just the free, it's free. And there's so many amazing meditations. Some of the things are like a plus membership. And you have to pay to get to the courses. The courses, you have to have a plus membership. And it's like $60 a year. Yeah. But people do like free live yoga classes.
But like a ton of the money goes to the creators too, right? It's not like
everything that's donated when you donate, except now on Apple. Apple.
Yeah, you're gonna love this one.
Just Apple.
The as the Maverick of Wall Street calls them, the iMob. What they used to run live events, and like people that were at the live events could give donations, and then Apple was like, yeah, we're going to take a third of that, because if it wasn't for our platform or whatever.
So they just take a third of all the donations.
Yeah.
But Android devices, and if you go on a web, they don't take, if you donate when you're on an Android device, or if you donate when you're on the web, you don't have that extra. But so as a teacher on Insight Timer, you do everything pretty much for free.
Google hasn't figured that shit out yet. They will eventually. They'll let Apple do all the court cases and then they'll just take on the legal costs. And then once the precedent gets set, then they'll be like, well, they get to do it, so we're going to do it too. But in the meantime, you can donate via Android and not have to pay 30%.
Yeah, and the teachers do it all for free. Like I put some things out for plus, but I don't make a ton of money on that. Yeah. But on the free ones, I put everything out and I make a lot. I do like hour-long yoga nidras and stuff. And I put a lot of time and effort into. It's something that everyone should be able to have. Yeah. Like a way to balance their nervous system without having to pay a huge amount of money and go to a class to do that. That's something I feel like everyone should have.
Well, it's definitely not something that you could do for, like, you couldn't do it for yourself if you didn't know about it, right? Like you had to go through a certification in order to do yoga nidras, like to record them. And I don't think it's something that you could just like pick it up and mimic it.
No, I don't even do. I listen to other people's. Yeah. I don't even do. And like I don't just go through my
a lot of Allie stuff you listen to. Yeah.
Allie Boothroyd. She's awesome.
Yeah.
I've had the best teachers. She has like 31,000 followers.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. She's so good. She's so good.
That's huge.
And everything she does on Insight Timer is free. Everything she does.
You know what's funny is back in say like 2018, 2019, when I was doing a lot of work in like property and casualty and risk management, but I was also doing a lot of work with say like the professional association I was a part of and some other things, and I was giving some talks, and so a lot of the talks had to do with social media. It had to do with trends and things like that. And one of the things that Gary V, if you're not familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, one of the things he started talking about, I mean, he kind of like repeats the same stuff over and over and over again. But one of the things he did start talking about in like 2018, 2019, he was like meditation, therapy, spirituality. He was like, these are going to be big trends for like the next, like 30, 40 years. And he just got a sense of it because he could just see kind of where the attention and the energy was being put, where the money was being put into the system. And so it's a big deal because traditional therapy, like, it has a use case. But
you mean like talk therapy?
Yeah, like talk therapy. But
excuse me.
I think in some cases, talk therapy is like trying to kill a mosquito with an elephant gun, right?
Well,
like
some people do really well on talk therapy.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, if you have like a stressful day, okay, I think nowadays it's become commoditized to the point where, like, some of the apps, it's like you have a stressful day and you're like, oh my God, I have to talk to my therapist. And
because you can chat at any time.
I've had
like you could text at any time.
I've seen tons of people be like, please don't do that, because the last thing you need to be is like therapized about every little small aspect.
Well, you're not
your
really
life,
learning any
right?
self-regulation.
That's also true. You're not learning to deal with it on your own.
You know, this is when I was in school to be an expressive art therapist, right? And I was getting my master's, and one of my teachers said, you know, they were saying when you see a lot of people go to therapy and they'll be with the same therapist for years.
Yeah.
She's like, this is the most unhealthy thing.
and they're still fucked up.
Well,
right?
Because, and
you're like, well, what am I paying for?
So her point was twofold. Like you have, you know, this relationship with this therapist, and on one end, you're never getting any other viewpoints as a therapist. So it's not good for you.
Yeah.
And on the other end, you get comfortable. Right. So you fall into your patterns and your ways. And on the other end, the person who's a therapist is not doing their job. You should not be with a therapist for more than a year and a half. So you should switch. That therapist at a year and a half should be suggesting someone else. If you still need therapy, they should be suggesting somebody else.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like a money-making business. People don't want to lose their...
Well, no, you got to pay the rent.
That's so wrong, because that's like, this is someone's well-being and their ability to, you know, live in the world.
Yeah, I would definitely say the rewards. By the way, like, people are tuning in. They're like, what the fuck? I thought we were talking about the debate.
Which was insane.
Interestingly enough, they
could use therapy.
I think I need therapy after watching that thing. We're going to get to it. Believe me. But so maybe to put a little bit of a ribbon on this, like, a lot of things get said about, say, like, quote unquote, the mental health crisis in America and the world. Right. Yeah. And, it gets talked about, it gets weaponized because it gets talked about in terms of, like, it's like a defense mechanism for pro-gun people, right? When there's a shooting and they're like, well, there's a mental health crisis, you can't just blame it on the guns, which is completely true. Is it everything? No. But is it a contributing factor? Yes. Right. Like, but it's also a contributing factor to hundreds or thousands of other issues that we deal with every single day. Right. But for a large part of what is prescribed to be supposedly, quote unquote, air quotes, the solution to the mental health crisis is basically pills and talk therapy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the answer.
They're getting better. I mean, so I was just on a podcast and I was like, you know, I went to school for therapy. I became a therapist. Right. And in that entire time, I wasn't taught anything about the physical body or what the drugs they put you, like people are prescribed. If you're a therapist, you're not prescribing them, but you're dealing with people who are being prescribed.
Yeah.
They don't tell you about what this wreaks havoc on your body. They don't tell you how to balance your nervous system. They don't teach you meditation. They don't teach you in school anything about the nervous system. I had to learn that from my yoga nidra training.
Yeah.
And my meditation training, right? Like, I had no idea how the vagus nerve is connected to the parasympathetic and the sympathetic, and all. I had no idea. Like, how can a therapy school, this blows my mind, not teach their people about the nervous system? Well, no, that blows my mind.
That just speaks
Maybe
to
they do now.
So going through engineering school, that used to be the way that we would make fun of the pre-med kids, because we would always tell the pre-med kids, who are all like biology students and chemistry students, like majors, we would be like, look, they just tell you guys the answer and you memorize it and then just throw it back up on the test. Like, they actually teach us how to, like, solve a problem we've never seen before, right? Which, by the way, that's completely changed now too. Like, most engineers just are taught how to memorize shit and
everything,
throw it back up on the test. But that just seems to be the way of the world in so many different applications. Medicine,
it's all compartmentalized.
Mental health.
Weird.
Well, it's not even just that. It's almost like even the people who are supposed to be, like, quote unquote, again, air quotes, the expert, they're even in the dark.
Yeah.
They're told the answer, and they don't even ask like, well, why is this the answer?
This is like
and
the
you're
presidential
like,
thing.
and you're like, no, just have faith.
You're bringing it back. You're bringing it around.
Just believe in the science. The science says this is the answer, and that's what you tell everyone.
Don't have any answer.
And it's almost like in kind of steel manning this a little bit. It kind of makes logical sense if you're behind that whole process, that when you're kind of like, there's a big thing about, say, like the Rockefeller Foundation and how they created the medical model that we have nowadays. They also created the agribusiness model that we have nowadays, and they did it back in like the early 1900s. But so say you're behind that process, whether it's them or someone else. If you allowed the practitioners of medicine to openly question the remedy and then have to go down this long laundry list of explanations, like, well, it works here, and sometimes there's this problem, sometimes there's this, it erodes the reach of that analgesic or that treatment getting to as many people as possible, right? So it's very easy, or it's a more effective tool if you're behind the scenes, to be like, look, this is the answer. Just trust us. We did the work. We put in all this money. They'll give you all these stats, right? We put in all this money, all this man hours, this many tests, this many peer-reviewed articles, whatever. This is the answer. And just give it to your patients. It'll work, right? Some of them it won't, but most of them it will. And that's probably their fault that it doesn't work. So just assign it to them. And so now when you're the doctor and you're then prescribing that treatment or that protocol or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, this is the answer. You're able to resolutely give an answer that the other person wants some assurance about. And you're giving an answer that's like, it's almost like the word of God, right? Like, this is the answer. And the patient is like, oh, okay, doc, sure, if you are that sold on this thing. But the reason why they're so sold is because it's literally almost kind of like a religious explanation of it, right? Like, this is the truth, and it's infallible. And so when you go tell someone else, it's like I wrote about this the other, like last week or the week before on Twitter in relationship to something. You know, the whole, what's the actor? Tommy Lee Jones.
I like Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah. You know, the whole rumor about him being gay. Like, it was like a thing for like 20 years. Like, everyone,
he's not gay.
Everyone you talk to is like, oh shit, you know, Tommy Lee Jones is gay? And everyone's like, wow, I thought he was like a tough freaking, I mean, like, he's always like the hero and the tough guy or whatever. And then, it didn't even hit me until, and this is ridiculous. Like, I'm guilty of this. Like, I've told other people that we've been talking about Tommy Lee Jones in a movie or whatever, and be like, yeah, he's rocking the shit in this thing. I was like, you know, he's gay, right? Like, with conviction. Like, I saw him in an act, and like, I knew it, right? So Tom Segura, I think, is the comedian who does the stand-up bit, where he's like, his dad told him the same thing. Like, he was watching a movie with Tommy Lee Jones. He's like, yeah, he's gay. And he was like, really? It was like, yeah. And he was like, I told everybody that Tommy Lee Jones is gay. And then Tom Segura is like, when I finally hit it in, like, you know, some way, shape, or form, like some level of fame, he was like, I was talking to this guy one night and it came up, and I was like, yeah, you know, he's gay. And he's like, the guy I was talking to was like, no, he's not. He was like, I've been in like 2 films with the guy. I've met his wife, his kids. He's not gay. And then Tom Segura is like, holy shit. And then the end of the joke is like almost anticlimactic. He goes back to his dad. He's like, Dad, you know all those years you told me Tommy Lee Jones was gay? He was like, yeah. He was like, he's not gay. He's totally straight. And he goes, huh, would have figured he was gay. And that was it. That was the end of the conversation. How did I even get on that?
I don't know, because
we were talking about mental health treatment and stuff like that. Like the religious aspect of it.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of the blind faith.
Well, I don't see the problem with learning about the nervous system in a school for therapy. That just seems correct to me.
No,
they don't do it.
Well, I mean, there's so many cases of that, right? Like, why do doctors not learn about fucking nutrition
or vaccines? Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, they get a whole 3 pages in their textbook about it,
all of it,
you know, in one day or something.
Yeah, not even like it's a half a day.
You know, but again, it's the belief system, right? And it's very effective, because when you go to any doctor's office, you're like, okay, so what do I do, doc? And doc's like, well, you need these 3 shots.
And he doesn't
and
know.
It's very matter of fact. It's like, oh, you need these 3 shots. Like, obviously, because that's what I did to the last 50,000 people that I saw. Yeah. And that's what I was told is the answer. Right. And it is compartmentalized to the point where if you're a doctor, you don't get to see a lot of times the downstream effect of all those prescriptions or whatever that you're getting out there.
I imagine pediatricians whose kids are affected, they see it. Unless people stop going.
I don't know. I don't know. Because say you end up having some kind of like ailment, right? And then you go back to the pediatrician, like the child has a reaction or something, go back to the pediatrician, and then the pediatrician is operating from this perspective.
Oh, that's happening.
This thing is infallible. So they're going to start to look for everything else that it might be.
That's what they do. Or they just say,
and then they
Tylenol, which is the worst thing to do.
Then they refer you to a specialist, right? A neurologist, an endocrinologist, whatever, right? Cancer doctor. And then it's like, okay, go that way because I can't help you. And they wipe their hands of it. But it couldn't have been that thing I gave you because I know it's infallible.
They have to know.
Right?
I mean, on some level in the human body, they know because they've seen many reactions. They just haven't. On some
maybe subconsciously, but I don't think so. I mean, like the situation that we had with the one endocrinologist and you. Do you think to this day that he thinks he did anything wrong?
No, he doesn't remember me.
No, I'm not even talking about like your individual case. Like he obviously, this probably wasn't the first time that this ever happened, where someone had like pregnancy-induced hyperthyroidism. And just because the only thing that's common that causes hyperthyroid is Graves' disease, how many women or how many people did he diagnose with Graves' disease?
Or
take their thyroid out? They were on, pills for the rest of their life to replace what the thyroid does naturally.
Maybe lost their child.
Doesn't even think about it. Doesn't even think about it.
I don't think he does.
And
endocrinologists, I've been told time and again, endocrinologists are the worst of doctors when it comes to like what happened to me, like and how they respond,
just abdicating themselves of any kind of
to being questioned
fault.
It's a very endocrinology is a very like a compartmentalized field. Well, I don't know how we got on that.
I don't even know if it's compartmentalized. I would call, like,
I mean, because
it might have a higher
really
level of
across the whole body.
Might have a higher level of like indoctrination or something. I mean, the more I read and the more I see, the more I know that is completely misunderstood or not understood at all about the hormones and the endocrine system, right? I mean, just look at some of the treatments for autism.
Ever since that, people were like, "Oh, endocrinologists, that's the they can be the hardest and the worst to be natural around."
I mean, it could be because they're just the most ignorant, but they have the highest level of faith in what they do, right? I mean, think about it this way: you do kind of solve the problem. Right. If someone has like a conditional case in which they get hyperthyroidism and then you take their thyroid out, job done. I fixed it. Yeah. You're never going to have hyperthyroid again because you don't have a fucking thyroid.
Yeah.
Right. So like,
it's true.
I'm God. I just fixed it. Hey, you're done. Right.
The amount of things that we take out of people's bodies.
I just went a little my cousin Vinny.
Hey, you were watching my cousin.
That was absolutely fantastic. All right. Should we get to
Did you line up some Idiocracy clips?
No, I didn't line up Idiocracy clips, but I do have some other things. So hopefully this doesn't get demonetized. Again, YouTube, if you're one of the Philippine people that are watching this, or Facebook, if you're watching this, okay, fair use, man. We're going to show it, but we're also going to give commentary, so we're adding to it, so you can't take this down. So anyway, and we're not monetized.
Is this all new to me?
No, so you saw some of these bits, but so the first thing we're going to watch is some just highlights. So hopefully, hold on, I got to go back and undo the screen share just to make sure that the screen share shares the audio.
Okay, to be on the side,
also sharing audio. Okay, and then this is going to be highlights from the most amazing debate ever.
It was really
just kidding,
amazingly.
All right, here we go. Ready?
All right, let's hear it. Let's do it.
This is from Politico, by the way, so we're not like slanting this, all right?
Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade. He can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth.
That is simply not true. We are not for late-term abortion, period, with the COVID, with
oh my God,
dealing with everything we have to do with
look at Trump's face.
Trump's face. He's looking over.
We had
like,
the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it.
there's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating,
up
he's
with his
lying.
voice.
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the
Some people
total
said he
ban
was like sick.
on the total initiative
Every
relative
time he
to
does
what we're
that,
going to do with
Trump
more
looks
border
over and
patrol
looks out
and more
back.
asylum officers.
Wait. This is
Wait, what?
this is the most
I
entertaining
don't
and
think I
most
saw this part.
indicting comment. I told you
Is
about
it?
this.
Oh,
Just
okay.
listen to Trump's response after Biden just rambles on about
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
The Republican.
Did he really say that?
Like-
What is going on?
Bro, how is this America?
What is going on?
How is this America?
Well, it's idiocracy. Except idiocracy would be more fun.
We'll put this in context later, or at least I have a quote to put this in context
do?
later. But I need to speak to the we've talked about this before. I need to speak to the fact that this is all part of the show. Okay, like we were talking to
Part
someone.
of the circus.
We were talking to someone at a bar the other day, and he was telling us stuff. And immediately after the conversation, I was like, "Yeah, that was not true. That was not true. That was not true." Like, so the propaganda was even deep seated in this person, and even that person that we talked to was like, "Yeah, I can't stand either."
No,
of these guys."
he was like, that's why I think why you put this on tonight, because of that conversation.
Well, no, not just
Yeah.
that. I mean, it's the thing that everyone's talking about.
Like he said one of the things he said is he voted for Trump the first time, but he's like, I can't vote for either of them this time. And his thing was that Trump should have just been kept his mouth shut until this presidential election, and he was turned off by the whole January 6th thing.
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff that he rattled off about January 6th was wrong.
It was not correct.
And I was not about to get into a conversation because I was not about to drop truth bombs because there was alcohol involved and we'd pick the kids up and all kinds of other stuff, right? So, but the hilarity of someone who got all the propaganda and is obviously parroting the propaganda and is still like, yeah, I can't vote for either.
He's like, I don't understand what happened. Because did you see that?
Oh,
and I had only seen a little bit.
Hold on, we got.
Can you just roll that back?
We got two more minutes.
Just roll back Trump saying that the one time. I don't know.
Let's see if I can get it. Hold on.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
This isn't to be the presidential like, oh my God.
Bro.
The presidential debate. Why didn't they have RFK Jr. here?
You know why.
I would have loved to see him speak.
Okay, so we can't hit too far in the weeds on this one, but so this presidential debate was essentially owned and run by CNN.
Yeah.
Okay. The Biden administration gave them all of the guidelines. So the whole the lights and the cutting the mics off and not having an audience and everything like that. That was all dictated by the White House.
Why
by the Biden
did they not have an audience? Because they were scared?
Well, yeah, no, Trump plays really well to an audience, and they didn't want boos or jeers or anything like that because they knew also Biden would get rattled by an audience. Like the moment there was cheering and stuff like that, see how bad he is here.
Even at this, first of all, I would just like to say I'm not for either one, but if I had to choose a winner in this, I would say Trump won by a landslide.
Yeah. So
just by his presence.
There
wasn't much to win.
To the point, I got sidetracked from saying before because of that freaking hilarious line. This is the nature of American politics. This is actually the nature of Western politics. You are presented with what they want you to think is the only two options. Okay. Yeah. So now watch this process play out. We'll watch more of this too, but watch this process play out with Biden as to whether or not he actually steps aside.
I already got a call this morning. I'm not a Democrat. Maybe I am.
You used to be registered as a Democrat.
But I get all these things and I always told them to stop writing to me, but they do anyways. And so there's this petition they put out there to put Kamala Harris.
Oh God!
How great she would be for the presidential.
Of the options, she's literally the worst one. Gavin Newsom is.
Oh no, please don't.
The
even
plug
click
and
it.
play.
Why would you? Why?
I
She's
told
awful.
you the other
Stop.
day.
No.
White
Why
liberal
would you
women
put that out there?
are in love
Why would
with
you
Gavin
even put-
Newsom.
Gavin
They
Newsom is
love
awful.
them some Gavin Newsom.
Awful.
He
Awful.
he is
Mm-mm-mm.
the anyway. So the state of westernized politics nowadays is that you're presented with these two awful choices, and you're made to believe that these are the only
Where
two
is
choices.
Gen X? Why is Gen
right?
X not up?
Well, also,
Like, why do we have this?
I was going to bring this up in a minute too, so you got to think about this. But hold on, before we get to that. So you're presented with these two awful choices, and they're two awful opinions on very complicated subjects: border policies, immigration policies, inflation, the economy, COVID restrictions, and medical freedom issues, and bills about free speech and gun control, and like all of these things are very complicated. Okay, they're given 2 minutes. Okay, the guy on the right's dead and can't even say anything within 2 minutes that's coherent. The guy on the left is uttering the same talking points that he's been saying for the last like 8 years.
I don't know what you do
right?
for 2 minutes either in
But-
that situation.
But here's the thing though. This is such a small world of options and thought and rationality that they've boxed everyone in to think that these are the only two options. And again, to
I
quote,
loved your idea the
to
other
go
day.
quote who was it? Wasn't Boss Hogg. Was Boss Hogg. I don't care who you vote for. I just want to pick the two candidates, right? That's what they've done. They've created a system that's given you two awful candidates, and you're made to believe that those are the only two options.
How can
and their
this be?
solutions
I
are
mean,
the
this
only
was
two options
literally
of
the
solutions.
election of 2020 and just older.
So my idea the other
So
day
crazy.
is not
I
a
loved your idea
novel
the other
idea. It's a libertarian party idea.
I feel
Actually,
like that absolutely.
you should be able to vote none of the above.
And I feel like I
think that's
most
even-
people would vote none of the above.
That's even more powerful than ranked choice voting, because the beauty of it is you could not have a winner. And then the people that ran and the people behind the people that ran are now put on report. Like, you gave us
you
dog
need to
shit,
find us something better.
right? And we didn't want to
That was a
vote for
great
either
idea.
one,
I love that.
right? You
I love
should be
that.
able to
None of
cast
the
a
above.
ballot that says, no, you brought us substandard, corrupt, old fuck pieces of shit to be our president, right? Like,
Well, I mean, imagine
this is why I
though,
can't trick.
imagine though, if I feel like in this election, if you had a none of the above, I feel like this one in particular, you would have a ton of people clicking on that
Dude,
none of the above.
none of the above.
I don't know anyone who's really 100% for someone.
The only thing I would worry about is if you had a none of the above option that
was
then
only for one of
enters
the,
into, again, remember, I don't believe in voting, but if you had a none of the above option, it gives them another or multiple other opportunities to doctor the vote count, because then they can play with the total number of votes and things like that. So that's the downside, right?
It's so depressing. We can't trust anything.
All right. So anyway, let's finish up.
Except the
We have 2 more minutes of
I can't watch all of this. I couldn't even watch 5 minutes
highlights
when it was happening. I needed to watch Bones.
Right.
If a Republican did that, they'd go to
Thank
jail.
you, President Trump.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon, is the
Drink.
man I'm looking at right now.
Drink.
But he could be a
Convicted felon.
convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families.
He's a convicted felon. He could be a convicted felon. We're all convicted felons.
What is going on?
You're right, guys. You're both freaking right.
Wait, when he says that, what does he mean? Is Biden going to be?
He's pointing to the fact that Biden has done just as illegal, if not worse, stuff than Trump ever has.
Is he going to be?
And that he's implicated in most of the things that Hunter's been doing, right?
Oh,
In the
okay.
past, you used to be given a pass. But in the past, also the corruption, like, we have reached a level of freaking corruption
The
that is
whole Washington just needs to start over.
unparalleled in U.S. history, right? Like, just think about it this way. Nixon had to basically leave office because they spied on essentially like voter rolls and the election process, okay? The guy on the right essentially created business deals with foreign nations and then funneled money and arms to them and created a proxy war, okay? The guy on the left is literally trying to tell you that he's like a choir boy and he's like the best alternative to the guy on the right. The guy on the left is a hundreds of millions, if not billionaire, because of political corruption in New York City and New York State. Right? Like, he literally openly tells you that he is a product. His wealth is a product of the corruption. Right? Like, how are these the options? How are these the options? Okay.
It's bad.
that's a freaking understatement.
But didn't RFK Jr. do like didn't he do something live at the same time? I didn't watch it.
Yes,
I have to go back and watch it.
I'll show you. Like, there's a little bit on that. They gave him, like, on some of the news outlets, they gave him like a little bit of coverage. But by the way, 9 million people watched RFK Jr.'s broadcast.
I mean, for real,
during this. So
I didn't, but I know
and Hispanic families.
There was no inflation when I became president.
There wasn't any inflation.
The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment.
We've always been at war with Eurasia.
The only one who won.
So he goes. There was
1984.
I'm 100% talking 1984. So he flat out lies. Okay, both of these guys flat out lied. They tell you completely lies to your face.
Look at Trump's face.
And then Trump has the balls.
He would be a Muppet.
Trump
right
has
now. He could be a Muppet.
They both are. I got to show you a side by side at the beginning. Hold on. Wait a minute.
What are you doing?
This is
where are you going?
I have to show you. Jeff Dunham has a puppet that looks exactly like Joe Biden. This is
that looks like Joe Biden.
Hold on. I got to show you like a side by side. This is Walter. Hold on. I don't have the screen share up correctly.
What is happening?
All right, 1 second. I got to show you the screen share. All right. This is the screen share of that's the about. Here you go. Okay. There's Walter right there in the middle. Okay. And he's like this like old curmudgeon-y man. And like that's like this is Jeff Dunham's.
I don't think it looks like Biden.
You don't think so? Hold on. Okay. Keep that. I wish I could do a side by side. Keep that image in your head. All right. Now I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back and share this video. Now watch this freaking video from the beginning. Keep that image in your head. Now I'm going to scroll all the. Look, hold on. Do I have the screen share? I have the screen share. Look at that face. It is freaking identical.
But the hair is not white.
The puppet?
Yeah.
I don't care about that.
What I've got bald on the top.
What I'm talking about is this vacant old curmudgeon-y, I just shit my pants look on the president's face.
I can't believe that this is our president. And then he talks about how while he's been in president, this is the one part I watched.
Yeah.
While he has been president, that everyone respects us. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, people in other countries are watching this.
Yeah.
Bro. And I'm like, there's no one respecting anyone here right now.
They haven't.
That was really bad.
They haven't respected us for 20 years.
No, and he's like, no one would mess with us. And I was like, wow, what is this? This is just.
So now, just to show you an example, like there's just flat out lying going on because he goes, there was the economy was flat on its back. There was no inflation, right? Joe Biden is basically inaugurated in 2021. The inflation number in 2021, as reported by Investopedia, which is pulled from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and a couple of other organizations, is 7% inflation. And that's understated. That's using a new metric. The old metric
was
was
the highest it's been.
Double digits.
Is he saying
no, it actually, at certain points, it actually hit an annualized rate of over 9%, almost 10%.
But that would have been Trump making that happen.
No, well, yes, this is also the show. It's also the ridiculousness. This inflation, the 7%, is a result of the supply chain disruption that happened because of COVID under Trump. And then the sustainability of the inflation, why it's sticky, is because you then get the double whammy of having $7 trillion in debt spending that ends up hitting the economy.
That Biden did.
No, Trump
did that?
Trump signed the first $4 trillion, and then Biden signed the next $3 trillion.
And then Russia invades Ukraine. I see that.
Yes, yeah, but I mean,
and
again, like you trying to parse out like what's.
So, but he's trying to say when he took office, there was no inflation. That's what he was trying.
That's what he's trying to say, or what he's trying to say is he's trying to deflect and say, oh, the economy was on its ass, and it's like, yeah, because most of your freaking blue state governors, which by the way, most of the red state governors did too, but most of the blue state governors, as well as most of the mechanism, and we'll see in the highlight after this something else that is compelling about this. talking about like the bureaucracy of like the government, both on the federal and state level. Okay. All of those people conspired to shut everything down, censor, you know, you have the basically the intelligence community that shut everything down and censored everything. You have the largest transfer of wealth ever in human history from the average person to wealthy people, right?
I know. When I think of that time, I felt like really isolated for us not being vaccinated and not wearing masks and stuff.
Well, no, we've definitely
like we felt it.
We've definitely talked about that.
100%.
We've definitely talked about that.
Felt it.
But so that's kind of for another day. But
yeah,
they flat out lie to your face, like both of them do. This isn't just a Joe Biden thing. And then Trump has the balls to be like, well, I've never seen someone lie so easily. And you're like, come on, bro.
You know,
like,
and in the end, I can't even take Trump seriously because he does not admit his vaccine causes injuries.
No.
And he doesn't admit he screwed up with, and he could even just say, because it was an unprecedented situation, right? He could even say, I made a mistake, and I might respect him more if he actually said, I made a mistake.
It's the divine right of kings. You can't admit fault.
But if he did, I would see his humanity.
If you would,
and I would be like, all right, let's fix it. I would feel differently.
Yeah, but you're not the average mouth breathing
but
part of the proletariat. You're just not. You like the idea that these people are infallible, they hold that very dearly, close to them. Because the moment they become fallible is the moment that people start to question them, and then they lose their power and authority and influence.
They've been questioning Trump for 4 years.
Yeah, but again,
he still says I didn't do it either.
That's why controlling the media is such an important tool.
Warp speed is so great. Like he needs to, if he just came out and been like, no, no one other president has dealt with.
No,
this.
he'll go to his. He will go to his grave talking about how great the Project Warp Speed was and all this other stuff that he did. The same way that dumbass Bush W will go to his grave saying
WMDs.
that Iraq had WMDs and they were a threat to the rest of the world and everything like that. Anyway.
Finish the job.
The only existential threat to humanity is climate change. And he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion. It was a ripoff of the United States. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good.
Do you think Trump drained the swamp?
I don't think so. But he might have done more than Biden. I don't know. I have no idea.
Dude, the balls on this guy to be like, I drained the swamp.
He definitely didn't drain the swamp because everyone's still there.
Not only are they still there, but he is now a felon because they were all still fucking there.
Stop.
Right? Like, in what universe does this guy exist?
Well, he probably thinks in his little, baby kiddie pool, he drained it. The kiddie pool.
That's just,
in his sphere of influence.
Literally, above all else.
I don't know why he's trying to be president.
The biggest failing of Trump as president was that he didn't walk in day one and fire 90% of all of the heads of the organizations.
He had this momentum behind him.
His problem was he literally doesn't have enough bodies to fill all of those seats. Now, in my frame of reference, he should have gone freaking Javier Milei and just started cutting things, but he would have been shot faster than JFK was. Okay? But he just doesn't have enough people that are loyal to him to literally fill all those seats because of how immense the government blob is, right? And so him talking about draining the swamp is the most ridiculous thing.
If we just had a none of the above for all elections.
This guy hasn't fired anybody. He's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country.
Presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One from best to worst. They said he was the worst in all.
You're the worst. No, you're the worst.
Oh my God, you got a good one.
No, you're the worst. Look at this.
I mean, no, but what on a debate? They're saying, go Google it. Google it. Really, there were historians, and they said he was the worst. No, he was the. Are you fucking kidding me? Stop.
This is.
Stop. Look at that screenshot.
That is our president in a nutshell. On that pause. No, this is
American history.
He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
This is like Putin's Hitler, but also Trump is Hitler. So now we have Hitler squared, right?
I don't think that
It's
Russia is the
interview I was watching before. I forget the guy's last name is Oliver, that Tucker Carlson interviewed on X. He made an absolutely fantastic point. He was like, the vast majority of people have such a small frame of reference, I'll call it, that on all of these issues, they don't believe that there's any kind of history that predates the day the thing comes onto their radar. So, for instance, like the October 7th thing with Israel and Palestine, right? The media reinforces what these people's natural pre-inclination is to assume that just the conflict was the conflict that happened on that day, and then
before that,
and then history goes from there.
Cherry.
It doesn't talk about the last 60 or 70 years of history between those two groups, right? Same thing with Ukraine, Ukraine and Russia. Same thing with any other taboo thing or it thing, the next big thing that comes up. It's like you never heard about it before today. We're putting it onto your radar, and guess what? Don't worry about anything that came prior. Yeah. We're just going to tell you how things are going to move forward, right? Again,
the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again.
No, we're going to do it again.
There it is.
We're going to major country.
We're going to make America great again.
He didn't say it twice, did he?
He should have.
No.
Did he not do it the first time? He had 4 fucking years.
Again. Well,
Again.
True president wouldn't trade places with the United States of America.
Oh, he didn't have the
Wait. Hold on. I'm going to give credit to Politico. Maybe this is just a freaking gaffe or something. I don't think this was shown on the CNN feed. This is Jill Biden walking up to the podium,
helping him out,
grab him and help him down. Look at these steps. They are not the most treacherous steps on the face of the land.
Okay. Huge white.
This is not a New York City 5-floor walk up. All right. This is 2 little baby steps. She's sitting here holding him, and he's walking down like he has 2 hip implants and freaking arthritis. Does. Okay.
He might.
Watch this. Okay. It was one step. Was it only one step? It was one freaking step. Okay. Now, I've also seen footage, and I don't know if this is true or not, so don't quote me, but I've seen footage of, I forget who the female correspondent was who was one of the proctors of the debate. There's footage of her on a B camera reel having to look at the president and point to Tapper next to her because he's the one asking the question and the president's looking at her. So Jake Tapper's asking the question and she's pointing to her side.
People really, really like this. It goes to the fact that maybe Americans have given up. If you are willing to accept Biden as our president, it's like you've given up. It's like we've got no better than this. Oh, well, we just shouldn't rock the boat. I don't know what it is.
Hold on. This is very interesting.
Bad.
Okay, so this is a quote by George Carlin.
I like George Carlin.
All right. Hold on, if I can get up here. All right, this is a quote by George Carlin. All right. Now, there's one thing you might have noticed I don't complain about: politicians. Everybody complains about politicians. Everybody says that they suck. When he's doing this live, he goes, everyone says that they suck. And there's a dude in the back who goes, yeah, right? And then he goes, well, where do people think these politicians come from? They don't fall out of the sky. They don't pass through a membrane from another reality. They come from American parents and American families, American homes, American schools, American churches, American businesses, and American universities. And they're elected by American citizens. So I'm not going to read the rest of it. He goes on to basically deride the public for having produced these politicians. Now, there's one asterisk before you give your response.
Yeah.
The asterisk is, you got to remember that this is a comedic bit, right? Yeah. So Carlin always has multiple dimensions that he's going through. What I always took from this was that it's not that those people came through an American family, like a normal American family, and then ascended to the level of being there. From my standpoint, my interpretation is that it's the average American family that enables these ridiculous silver spoon assholes to end up in these positions of power because they, at best, are complacent and let them do it. At worst, they actually cede their power and authority and okay the actual progression of these people.
So we could go a little Alex Jones here.
We could always go.
Politicians are brought up.
We could always go.
There
Alex
is so
Jones.
many interesting stories out there.
Bohemian Grove.
Really.
I was in the Bohemian Grove.
But there are stories about people who are brought up to be in these positions, and the way they're. I don't know enough about it. I don't know enough about how it happens, but basically, bred in a way to be in these places. And so that would take that quote totally out of context for me, because it's almost like, especially when you see the election with these two people, right? You're talking yourself about who else can they give, but money brings them to where they are. Like, so how many people are brought up to be in these positions? I think Trump was a random accident in the middle of it. I don't think he was someone who was bred to stand in American politics. I could be wrong. I think people were sick of it, but don't know.
No, there's also an extension of that quote, and I forget if it's in here. No, beyond this. So like he ends with like, maybe we need a different slogan. Maybe it's like, the public sucks, fuck hope, right? So that's like Dark George, like trying to get like a laugh out of how awful the situation is. And you got to remember that that quote is from like 20 plus years ago, when we had a Bush in the White House.
What would George Carlin be saying about this?
Well, hold on one second. So he got really belligerent in his old age. And I think it was, I don't know. I think he was just really tired, because I think he felt like he was going to have more of an impact on the public discourse about politics by, gagging about it. I think he got really disenchanted. And I haven't read a recent autobiography of him, of his most latest years. But there's a continuation of that quote that he says, if there are all these noble people just waiting in the wings to supplant these awful people, where are they? Where are these people of I forget what he says, like all these people of like high moral standing to come in? He's like, we don't have those people, right? And this is where he's actually spot on. He's like, we don't have those people. They're at the mall taking a credit card out of their fanny pack to buy a pair of sneakers with lights in them, right? Like, that in and of itself is a fantastic critique.
We are distracted, and we're held down in a lot of ways by we're weak. Yeah. That's the thing. Like, the nobility of the individual has essentially been eroded. And you could make the argument that it's been facilitated by these type of people, right? But at the same time, it doesn't just happen because someone else wants it to happen. You have to allow it to happen. Or like I said, you have to actively take part in that erosion of what makes a noble, forthright, like, you got to remember that some of the founders of the United States, they thought about, say, like Rousseau's noble savage idea, where it was this idea that you were a savage that needed some level of like honor to go about your life, to make it worthwhile. And so when you and I have a beef, it's the fact that I want to retain, it's a very kind of like Japanese, almost like an Asian kind of idea. Like, when we have a beef, it's in our best interest to try and come to some kind of mutual understanding, because I want to preserve my honor and my family's honor, and you want to preserve your honor and your family's honor. And so we need to argue or discuss in good faith, and we have to do it as, whatever, gentlemen and gentlewomen, and do it in a way that is actually, if you look back at it 100 years from now, people will be like, oh, wow, they did a good job of, actually being an upstanding person, right? You have lost me between that and the George Carlin quote.
No, but
how we ended up with
but what I'm saying
Trump
is,
and Biden.
What I'm saying is, we have you wanted idiocracy clips.
Yeah.
Okay. The idiocracy clips are so poignant because they are equally as critical of the politicians in idiocracy as they are of the average person.
Yes.
Right. And in actuality, the politicians are like, they're sub 80 IQ people. Okay. The average person, as depicted in idiocracy, is even lower.
Even lower than that.
Right. And so
because of everything.
This
right?
idea of like you get
Inbreeding?
what you deserve when it comes to politicians it's not far afield. Like it totally makes sense.
That because I think there's so many people, at least that I know, that we just there's no answer in current politics for us. And you say yourself, you don't vote. Voting doesn't make a difference. So how do you then? Well, no, do you think that we deserve Biden and Trump? Me and you. And
yes, for multiple reasons. The first reason is that, and I can't speak for you. I can only speak for myself. Okay, I haven't done enough to improve the world around me without using political power and force. Right. So like from my standpoint, I haven't done enough to help my family and my community without using the power of government. If I defaulted to using the power of government, then I would run aground of potentially having to make a deal with the devil and lose my moral and ethics and
so
honor.
You
right?
think in order to deserve a better president, you should be doing yard work for the neighbor?
What I'm saying is people that are deserving of a good president don't need one.
But you live in I think that's where it is a utopia for you.
No. No,
because you live
the utopian idea is that you can cede power to someone in Washington D.C. and then they can look out for your best interest. That is utopia.
But you live here where you're under the arm of government or under the fist of government. They take your taxes. They do. There's so many pieces to how government.
I understand that, but there is like literally very few places in the world where you can actually live without that. And to do that, you would have to live out in the middle of nowhere, which you could, right?
And that would be when you deserve someone else.
But where it's needed the most, where the example of someone who is making the statements that we're making now, but not just making the statements, backing it up with actual action, it's needed here in the socialist.
But even if you did that,
state of New Jersey,
if you did,
it's needed the most here.
Even if you did that, you would still end up with the same presidential candidates. And
yeah, but again,
but you wouldn't deserve it.
No, I deserve the existence that I have, right? I get the existence I have, and I deserve the existence I have, because if I'm not happy with it, it's up to me to change it, or at least to try to.
I get it,
right? But so what I'm saying is, it's almost this is gonna sound stupid. You know the movie Nanny McPhee?
I like Nanny McPhee.
Okay, so she comes in. We have kids.
She goes backwards.
So you have to understand that she comes into the family of these problematic kids, and she basically says, when you don't want me, but you need me, I will be here. When you want me, but no longer need me, I have to go. Right? The ideal place for me to be is to not need a president. Me personally, I don't need a president. I think I could live
even if you
in harmony with the people around me. And even if there was some kind of level of discourse or complication or something, I would negotiate in good faith or argue in good faith to try and fix it. And then the very worst case scenario is that things devolve to a point of natural law, which is essentially you meet at high noon with freaking revolvers. But the vast majority of interactions never end up in that. But what you're saying is that, like, you're looking at it from the perspective of, well, this is what you have, right? And what I'm telling you is, I like the answer is right now it's so corrupt and it's so off the rails, and the blob is so big and it's such a high magnitude that you've passed the point of no return. It can't be fixed. It can't.
No, I don't think it can either. But what I'm saying is, no matter what you do, you're still here.
Yeah.
And whoever is president and is doing what they want, you're under that rule.
Well, no, I'm under that rule if I just sit there and take it. If I build community and whether you want to do it through local politics, I don't choose to, but whether you want to build community through local politics or just through local voluntary action, you can fight back against things like this. There are people that have throughout all kinds of, it's in Oh, I don't have it. I just read, by the way, The American Experiment. You should read this book. This is by Sal Mayweather. The American Experiment is absolutely unbelievable.
This is the one you told me to read.
This is the U.S. history book that you never read that you should have in school. And if history teachers in public school got their hands on that and it was like suggested that they give it to their kids, they would literally burn that book because it tells all of the things that you should have learned about U.S. history. And kind of well, yeah. But the reason why I pulled that up was because there's basically another book that's called Anti-Politics that Sal Mayweather wrote. And it's about all of these instances in some of the most oppressive environments, most oppressive regimes imaginable. Think communist Russia, Nazi Germany, that kind of thing, where groups of people, in many cases, non-violently, found a way to fight back against oppressive government law, right? And so I actually think that the reason why there's a glimmer of hope is because you see, I mean, just right now, I mean, people tune in to listen to us talk the way we're talking right now about both of the presidential candidates, and at least some of them will be like, yeah, right on. Like, I don't acknowledge either one of their, right or qualities to be the president.
I mean, it is pretty amazing that, people in higher up politics can basically decide your choice of one of two, right? That's really insanity.
Well, ultimately,
like, we've talked about the idea that democracy isn't really democracy. It's like 51%.
Well, no, I mean, the tyranny of the majority is something that supposedly this country was designed against. But let me look up 2020. Now, we had record votes counted, wink, wink, in the 2020 election. But 2020 voter turnout versus eligible, is that a good way? I think we'll see if that comes out. 66%. So 34% of the people that were eligible to vote, and that's assuming you you agree that 66% of the people actually wanted to vote in the 2020 election. 66% of people voted that could have, and 34%, a third of the country was like, yeah, this doesn't have any effect, right? Like I don't feel like I'm gonna be able to do anything.
Do you think that it'll be like no turnout this election? I would think you'd have a chance of a lot of no turnout in this election.
I seriously think.
Although we didn't watch the RFK thing, I think it would be really interesting if RFK.
Okay, so let's talk about the. I think prospects of the election after.
He's so far ahead of these two that you could actually see.
I will give you that.
Is he a libertarian now?
No.
The libertarians should have picked him up because
no. He's you can't. He's anti-gun.
He's not libertarian.
He wants to pass a federal level. He wants to take the overturn of Roe v. Wade and do exactly what Biden wants to do. In fact, RFK Jr. is probably even worse than Biden's position on abortion. There's a number of things he's not good on, right? Yeah. But I can tell you that from just I can tell you from like a look, just a looks and a feel kind of thing, he seems more presidential than the two guys that are in there that are president and former president. Okay, and that's scary to me because I do not see eye to eye with a lot of his policies. No. But again, I mean, politics is basically a popularity contest for ugly people. So if he ends up being the least ugly of the three, I mean, one thing's for sure, if the Democrats don't do something and a lot of Democrats jump ship to RFK Jr., they're guaranteed to lose. So that's what they're discussing right this very second.
I think they're trying to get Kamala.
No, that would them being doubling down on identity politics would absolutely destroy them. Because think of the juxtaposition of Obama and Kamala Harris, Barack Obama and Kamala Harris.
I never liked Obama.
Barack Obama, for as socialist a piece of shit as he was an amazing orator.
He was a good orator.
He had a presence. He could deliver a speech. Kamala Harris is atrocious as a politician. I'm not even talking about her background as
how
a
she
prosecutor
speaks.
and how awful she was to the Black community in California. But as just a orator, she is awful, absolutely awful. And I can't see that motivating people to show. If they didn't show up for Hillary, I can't.
I want to see. Did he do a response on top of the whole thing?
Yeah,
right?
he did like a real time.
Yeah.
Like they answered questions and then he answered his own. They like paused the feed.
Yeah.
But so this is coverage from News Nation of RFK Jr.'s rival debate, right? Viewed by 9 million people.
And while the televised debate captured much of the nation's attention, independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. held what he dubbed the real debate 2,000 miles away. In front of dozens of supporters, RFK answered some of the same questions posed to Biden and Trump while injecting his own personal stories and policy changes he would make in the Oval. News Nation correspondent.
Let me ask of these two gentlemen,
John Stossel.
Who would be worse as president?
I mean, neither of them are running on the things that are absolutely critical to Americans right now. The only thing they have, the only argument they have is be scared of that other guy. He's a felon. He's a bad guy. He's going to destroy the republic. They're running on fear. If Americans want to vote out of fear, they're going to vote for these guys. If they want to vote out of hope, they're going to vote out of May.
Now, this is an interesting path that he's taking because, first of all, the first thing he said about they're not running on anything important to Americans. They're just trying to say, like, the other guy's more scary, so vote for me. That's, like, literally the most libertarian talking point of all time. Okay? He's not a libertarian as far as his policies go, but that's, like, one of the most libertarian things he's ever said. The other thing that he says there, he sounds like Obama. Remember, like, hope and change?
Oh yeah, that was
right?
the big thing for Obama.
That was Obama's thing, right? Like,
hope.
Don't.
I remember he did some great speech though.
He was trying to like empower people to vote for him.
Yeah.
Well,
RFK Jr. has the best media team. He puts some really good videos.
They're young.
He knows how to capture people's attention. He knows the right things to do. Did you see the one video he did where he was coming down on the zip line? And he said, I'm going to leave the zip line. By the time we're going to see how much the U.S. debt goes up by the time. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
By the time I get to that, and it was like an insane amount of money in this short little zip line.
Yeah.
That he took. I mean, he's got a fantastic media group.
So this is also something I'm gonna go through this in real time here. This is also something to remember. Okay. So let's go through the ages of all of the major candidates.
There's no Gen X. There's no Gen X.
There is a millennial though.
Who's the millennial?
It's the libertarian. So here, watch. We'll go through this. Okay. So first of all right, RFK Jr. is 70. All right.
Yeah.
That's a 70-year-old as the president of the United States. All right. The dude has been eligible for Social Security.
Oh, you have it right there. Donald Trump,
years, okay?
78. Joe Biden, 81.
Yeah. So Trump is 78. Biden's 81. I mean, like a freaking octogenarian is the president of the United States.
What's an octogenarian?
80 years old. Like if you're in your
I've never heard that.
8th decade. It's a very SAT word for you right there. Okay, so Trump's 78.
Oh, and look at that. See, RFK Jr. is a Capricorn.
Yeah, that doesn't matter to me.
Well, I mean, my Capricorns are good.
Okay.
Actually, someone was telling me his chart was really fantastic for making weight.
So let's see. Jill Stein is 74.
Who is Jill Stein?
She's like the Green Party person.
Oh, she's run for years in a row, right?
Yes. Yeah. She's like the consummate Green Party person. Just another form of socialism. Actually, it's all socialism, by the way. Every single one of these candidates, they all have varying levels of socialism, but most of them are very high on the socialism scale. Who's the other one? Cornel West was another one. Okay.
What's that?
You've seen him before. Cornel West he's a spry 71 years old, people. I believe is he going to be the People's Party?
I have no idea who he is.
You know, remember Andrew Yang? Andrew Yang ran for...
Is he the one who wants to give everyone money?
Yeah, he wants UBI, which is, again, socialism. Actually, it's damn near Marxism.
I swear that Americans would like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not good for us.
No. They would like that because they don't understand the concept of time. In the couple of years following it, people would love it. And then 30 years later, they'd be like, oh, shit, we made a really bad mistake. Cornel West is 71. all of these people are 70 or 80 years old. Okay. This is the only person who is less than that. And he is 38 years
I'm
old.
older than him.
Okay. Now, I am not a huge fan of
You're
Chase.
not a
I've met
fan,
him
right?
multiple times. I think he veers too far into the identity politics world, which is why I'm just not. I mean, I was a libertarian voter for a couple of election cycles. I've sworn off voting because even within the Libertarian Party, I don't feel like I'm represented. No. It was just the entire experience. I don't think anyone really speaks for me, nor do I want them to. Like, that's the other big thing. I don't want to cede my power and authority to anyone. But so anyway,
this guy doesn't look exciting.
Of the major party candidates,
would you vote for George Clooney if someone looks like George Clooney?
If they looked like him?
Yeah.
I've heard Clooney talk. He's the biggest freaking socialist on the face of the planet.
I'm not saying his politics. I'm just saying looks like him.
No, I don't care about looks. They could be a burn victim. I don't give a crap. If they did a Javier Milei and they walked in and cut half the government the first day, I'd be like, I don't care if it's a
but the
person with all their
American
legs
public
missing,
would never
right?
have
Like,
that because so many jobs will be lost.
Well, no,
so many.
we're
Where
too
Javier
far
Milei
down the
is,
rabbit hole.
Where Javier Milei is, when he cut all that government, did they lose the same amount of jobs that if they had cut that kind of government here?
No, you have to remember. Well, first of all,
Like,
if you're talking percentage, like you have to talk
Yeah.
percentage. So the Argentinian government was the largest, if not, I believe it was the largest employer in the entire country. If I could be wrong, correct me in the comments if that's not the case. But so the government was the largest, and literally most of the country was on the government dole. Like they were all receiving social benefits and things like that of all different shapes and sizes because the government had just destroyed the economy. They had rampant inflation. Okay. And
he just cut it all, and all those people don't have jobs.
Well, here's the thing. That's
how I see the American public wouldn't deal with that.
And people have tried to pin it to him, and he has very expertly said, I am the one who's fixing the problem. Who you should be mad at is the people beforehand who gave you these jobs that literally don't help anything. They make things worse. And so, yes, I'm cutting your job, but in the long run, your children will thank me, right? Like that is the difference in the thought process. But that's why the U.S. government is so in control of things that happen throughout the entire world that if you had a Javier Milei, first of all, he can't do it. In Argentina, the president has the authority to come in and cut all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
In the United States, Congress sets the budget.
I think we should
Right.
have a Congress,
Now-
none of the above.
Now, what the president could do is the president could come in and say, I'm not signing a budget that doesn't balance or get cut by 50% or whatever. Like the president
We're
could
always
say he's
so
not
afraid
signing.
not to have a budget. We're always so afraid of the no budget.
Well, no,
right?
I mean,
we go 2 weeks without a budget. Oh my God.
you know my
And
stance.
it's like,
if the Tea
I think
Party
we should go and keep going.
if the
keep
Tea
moving.
Party had any freaking balls, they'd still be holding out. The government
They
would still be
should've.
shut down.
That is the way to affect change.
But
see, in that way, then people who are paid by the government lose their homes.
actually,
and their-
that is a fantastically interesting question. If the Tea Party rose again, right? Like I feel like a Confederate saying that, but if the Tea Party came back, or maybe if the Tea Party had never happened, and now all of a sudden in the
Rose.
world of alternative news media and skepticism of the propaganda that's out there, because you got to remember that when the Tea Party held out, they just put the full court press on in the news, right? People are going to lose their jobs. They're going to die. They're going to lose their homes.
Isn't it the one
They're,
Arkansas
the GDP is going to go down. All this stuff.
the one that Del always has on?
No,
Isn't he Tea Party?
He's from Wisconsin.
Isn't he Tea Party?
He was formerly Tea Party when it was a thing.
Yeah.
the hell is his-
Johnson. Ron Johnson?
Ron
Johnson.
Yeah, Ron Johnson. Yeah.
He's a Tea
He was
Party.
former. He's like one of the only ones that are left, though.
Was it Sarah Palin? Was she a Tea Party?
She was a Tea Party person, yeah, and she was batshit crazy. The problem is that these people, they actually
They need to
had
come together in a very real way.
I don't even know whether or not they knew what they had. Like they literally had. There's been so many situations where the path could have been at least diverted into some sense of a more free or sensible direction. And it's been diverted by any one of a number of different things. And that's why I'm saying, like, if the Tea Party were to come along today, I think you would actually have a much different reaction.
There needs to be a Gen X Tea Party.
Because now the problem with Congress right now is in the House of Representatives, some people can get in, but they have a House of Representatives right now that's run by a Republican who's basically a Democrat. Like the Speaker of the House is essentially a Democrat. Like he gives the Democrats everything they want because he thinks, they'll give him a cookie or something. I don't know. But the Republicans now, there's such now a small minority of them. They're this like Freedom Caucusy, like, by the way,
they need to start their own, maybe.
By the way,
they need to go off and make a tea party.
Thomas Massey's wife passed away this past week. So,
really?
Yeah. So, my thoughts were with Thomas Massey. I don't know. I don't think he, gave out details. I have no idea, but I mean, she was, I think, in her 60s. I can't remember, but, wonderful woman. Everything I ever heard about her was absolutely fantastic. So the Thomas Massey types and like the Rand Paul types in the Senate,
they
and that
need
kind of
to
thing.
Start their own party.
No, that's not the answer. The answer is they need to build a big enough of a coalition that actually has the balls to be able to do it. Because if they can, this go around, at least they have on their side, public opinion would be different. Because when the propaganda campaign would start up about like, like this many people are going to die and these are this and this people that, like, just watch, like when those things happen online, especially on places like Twitter and Facebook, like people in the comments will respond. They'll be like, fuck you. Like, no, like you're not going to play this game again. We don't believe you. You've lost all your credibility. And we're going to try something different.
What was
right?
It was just, what's his name that came out and said the bird flu going to be our next,
well, we'll see what happens with it.
He says it's not a matter of when, of if. It's a matter of when. I don't remember what's his name. The one from the CDC.
No, Fauci?
No. The one who was behind the mRNA.
Robert
Malone.
Yeah.
He came out this week or last week.
I don't know if they're going to play the same gag again, but I can tell you if
they say it's gaining steam, but there's something, alternatively, there's things you can do. Because they already have a vaccine in the move. That's why.
Oh, because there's money to be made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess he was looking at what's been pushed already through, and he said it's not a matter of if, it's when, because already the money is already moving.
Yeah. I mean, that's entirely possible because, bless his heart, Alex Jones has been talking about the building out of DHS. Is it DHS or FEMA isolation camps in the United States? Like the build out of these large scale Australia like Australia and China like FEMA camp type of situations. I don't know. So in that Tucker,
and now they've taken away his place.
Well, no, I mean I think he's appealing or something. He can still if he has a phone and an internet connection, like he'll still draw. Like that's not going to be a problem. But I think what I also saw in that Tucker Carlson interview was something at the beginning of it that they called the great. It wasn't the great separating or the great. It was like essentially the great categorizing of people. So when COVID hit, you had a real-time understanding of what people would fall in line and what people would be, dissidents and
so you got a
pushback,
good like little
right. And so now they have more than enough data on all of us, and they know who will be the upstarts at the beginning of the next thing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right. I forget what it was called. It was called the Great.
Was he saying that we're in trouble?
No,
they know how to shut us up.
No, the white pill is that there's tons of people now that are just fighting back. And when these things get thrown around, like labeling people as white supremacists and,
oh my gosh, Alex Jones.
Oh no, he's live
Secrets
all the time.
of what's coming next in the Biden catastrophe.
They're on all the time.
There's so much to be. I don't know. All I'm saying, if these are the candidates, I'm just going to go back to our video.
Yeah.
If these are our candidates, shit has gone wrong. Shit has hit the fan. something's going off and awry, and something's going to happen, because you cannot have an election between these two people. I believe the American people will not vote, or they will rise against this shit.
Well, so do you,
and at some point, something has to happen to take our minds off of this, because something's gonna happen.
So
I'm in the Alex Jones camp when it comes to something's gonna happen.
I think I agree with you, because there's too much at stake. The first go around, what was at stake was who got to spend all that money. All the COVID money that got printed into existence
in New Jersey.
Who was going to portion that out?
Trans education in the schools.
Well, not just that,
but that was a huge part.
We
like the COVID money.
We said we were going to fill the transportation budget hole.
Oh,
but what we did was we took the money and then levered it up 10x, and that's how they filled the hole.
To be fair, the federal government paid for my parents' cremation.
That's very nice of them.
So they paid for the cremation. They didn't pay for
the
dinner before or after the funeral.
Yeah,
but they did pay for the cremation.
So
that's it. That was the COVID money.
Wow.
It did pay what was it, $900 or something, or 6,000? Was it 6,000? It might have been 6,000.
There was a little bit of whimsy in this podcast, and all of a sudden everyone's now like, ugh.
Yeah. To be fair, the government also paid Morristown Hospital hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Oh yes, yeah, that is true.
Because of the COVID, all the COVID stuff in my parents' medical records.
Yes,
so the government paid the hospital way more than they paid me.
Yeah. As you know, these things go.
So for COVID money.
Well, I mean,
I don't know how we got on COVID money.
Hospitals have better lobbyists than we do. Who do you think replaces Biden if you had to put money on it?
Please don't say it. Gavin Newsom is awful. I'm just gonna say that he's I don't know. I think it should be RFK Jr. in place of Biden.
Leading horses right now to replace
they will Gavin Newsom.
They will never put RFK Jr. in.
That's just what should be.
Actually, it would be a stroke of brilliance on their part.
It would.
A la when the robber barons basically bought the presidency, but then the president died. Don't put it past Democrats to put RFK Jr. in there, and then something happened. Wink, wink. But the front runners to replace Biden are the vice president, so Kamala.
Yeah, I can't see that happen.
Gavin Newsom.
Oh my God, who else?
Michelle Obama.
No.
They
would probably do that.
Which, by the way,
they love Michelle Obama.
Which, by the way, the narrative all along, at least people who are conspiracy theorists about politics, have essentially been saying that Biden's presidency is essentially just the third term of Obama's presidency, right? And the reason why they've allowed Biden to essentially decay in office is because all of the people that the Obamas are connected to, that they're continuing to feed via Biden being in the office, like one of their people has to be in the White House to continue to do this stuff. And so, you know, this is just a perpetuation of the Obama administration and their control over U.S. politics. And
for a long time, it was the Clintons, right?
Right. Well, no. So the Clinton period ended with Obama coming along. And part of the reason why was because I think Obama didn't have as much leverage. And so when the big money donors came in, they were able to get Obama to shut up and basically walk in the direction they wanted him to walk in, just so he could get some small crumbs.
American politics are so ridiculously corrupt.
All politics,
and it all comes back to greed and money and power. It's like the human flaw. Well, no, that's why what was sold to the American people was a government that literally did nothing. But now it does everything. You weren't supposed to go to poli-sci college. You were supposed to be someone, a member of your community.
Well, no,
who did this.
But that's a symptom, right? The real cause of the problem is that the Federalists condescended to think that they could control this animal. It's the same problem that Trump had. When Trump got elected, he thought he could walk in and just control the uncontrollable.
There were so many other powers that
he thought he could dictate how the ocean was going to flow, right? Can't, right? And so the only answer is, it's like my idea is the average person never wins at politics. So why even play? Why play that game, right? That's my position. The other position is, if you do find yourself in a position of power, there's no, it's like the ring in Lord of the Rings. There's no way to wield it in a good way.
Yeah.
The only answer is to destroy it.
Because there's always something
That's it.
on the other end of it.
Well, you always have to carve out your soul to be able to wield that power. And then by that time, you don't even remember who you are.
It's just so ridiculous.
So
when you start thinking about how many people are paid off, how many like corporations and pharmaceutical companies are paying off, and it's killing the American people, and from every angle.
Yeah.
From every angle, from the food they eat to their medicine, their doctors, to
but again,
the
from
taxes,
from that standpoint,
jobs,
we to a certain extent allow it to happen. I think a lot of people take this very powerless standpoint of like, well, we don't have any other options, or like you said, oh well, someone's going to be the president, so you might as well like at least vote for one of them or have a say or whatever.
No, you just said that you said we deserve Biden and Trump as our president.
Well, there is no.
And I said, well,
there is no we.
If you started to, no, I said me and you, and you said, yeah, me and you deserve him, and I said, well, and then I said, well, what would make you not deserve them? And you said, well, if you took part in your community without taking part in government. And I said, yeah, but even then, that means you'd still have the president, but you don't deserve them anymore.
Well, no.
Like I don't know.
There's
the logic was weird.
There's going to be someone who is the president regardless.
Yeah.
Right. How you allow that person to affect your life is what you deserve. Okay. So if you allow them to dictate your life, then that's what you deserve. If you fight back in any way, shape, or form, even if it's small, then you don't deserve it. But the problem is most people don't fight back. They might think they're fighting back by taking part in the sham that is the political system. Mm-hmm. But then once they lose, they just go, oh, shucks, I guess I have to freaking deal with it.
It is kind of strange.
And then they follow laws of a tyrant that they have absolutely no support for.
What I thought was crazy is when we were talking about it one day, and I never thought of it this way. If people vote, right? Yeah. And if there's 100 people that are capable of voting, right? And 5% vote for Trump and 5% vote for Biden, and then there's 90% of people who don't vote. Yeah. That's not a vote. Those people, it should be a totally new people then. Like to me, that's your none of the above.
Well,
but it's not. Now those 10% or that 5% of the population, maybe 5.1% of the population, right?
Yeah.
Are the people that have basically, and all other 94 of those people have to follow the rules of that person. That doesn't make sense to me. And that like when you start to question it like that, especially if the larger percent of the population didn't vote, mm-hmm. It's only 5.1% of those people that make the decision for all of those people.
Well, no, that's why the idea.
When you think about it.
That's why the idea of, first of all,
that's why people vote.
If you don't vote or you vote for none of the above and people pass laws that infringe on your life, I mean, technically the founding fathers or the anti-federalists would tell you that you're obligated to not follow those laws because you are not being represented.
Be made an example of.
Well, no. A couple of people get made an example of, and then what happens is a lot of other people follow through, and the people that were made an example are the ones that basically set the wheels in motion to actually fix things. But so, I mean, patriotism is in fact an act of treason, right? I'm not telling people to go out there and commit crimes, but what I'm telling you is that somewhere along the line, the infringements get to such a point where people, and this is also a warning to people that are in positions of power, the infringements get so great that at a certain point, the 36% of people who don't vote or the half of people that didn't get their candidate in basically go, okay, we lost, but
all those
I'm
people
not
that
following
didn't
your
vote
laws.
were more than anybody else.
Well, no, but
wait, listen.
But again, they say, but the average American doesn't think that way or act that way. They think that they either can't win the game, so they don't participate, or they think that they're going to participate in the game, but then when they lose, oh, well, I guess I then have to listen to it. Especially the people that are these kind of like, law and order Republican types. Okay. The real answer is that, one, I don't think you should play the game to begin with. And two, if you identify that the game is rigged against you when you don't participate, or if you try and throw a monkey wrench into it and it still ends up screwing you, just don't listen. Don't abide by it.
So listen.
The system doesn't work for you.
This Thursday
is
July 4th.
Yeah.
And they will be reading the Declaration of Independence.
They will.
And they will read it in our square, our green in Morristown.
Yeah.
Y'all should come. and listen, because there will be people cheering on. Yeah. Or you should pull up the Declaration of Independence and just read little pieces of it.
If
just read little pieces, and people will be, and if you sit back and you just listen and you say, and you hear them reading it, and they're reading it like old school, right? They're in costume. They're like this, they're really, it's what's the word? It's like, what's the word? It's a reenactment. Yeah. And when they read it, people cheer it on as if, yes, we did that. But when you read the actual, when you listen to it, you sit there and you're like, we're backwards. We went backwards.
Yeah, so
we went backwards.
Just to show you, I'm not giving you some kind of like slanted view. This is Wikipedia, which is the most leftist dictionary or encyclopedia on the face of the planet. These are the grievances listed within the Declaration of Independence. He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good, meaning essentially the colonial assembly passed a lot of legislation, but essentially the crown either refused to ratify that legislation or he outright breached it.
We should do a live. We should do a live of the reading.
Which, by the way, is an example of the destruction of federalism in the United States that happened as a result of the Civil War. Grievance number 2, he has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended. Hold on. He has forbidden his governors, which are basically his appointed heads of the colonies, to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. So basically, they're saying that he sandbags. So when the governors do have laws that would benefit the colonies, that essentially the king neglects his duty.
Is this what they read?
To put them in place.
Feel quite like what
he has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. So basically, he's not going to essentially pass favorable legislation unless there's some kind of give back. And in many cases, the give back is you essentially give up your rights to be represented within the government, which, by the way, there's been countless numbers of those types of laws passed by our own federal government that essentially estranged groups of people, whether it be states or smaller than that, throughout the history of the United States. Just take into account some of the territories of the United States.
Is this what they read?
Yes, yeah. These are just the grievances. This isn't like the preamble, not the preamble.
It's not the. They read the whole
beginning
piece.
No, but these are all each one of the individual grievances that are listed that has caused them to essentially declare their independence from the crown.
Yes,
right?
Yes. And they go through the whole
he
thing.
obstructed. Now, this is interesting. He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, meaning restricted immigration. For that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. So essentially, large influxes of people that had been stopped by the king because he was afraid that he didn't have enough governors and troops in order to be able to keep the colonies under his control. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. So in the colonies, the governors typically were the ones that oversaw they were the judge, jury, and executioner in a sense, or basically it was a joining of the executive and the judicial branches. So they wanted actual judges that were, independent from the governor and independent from the governor's influence, which was basically directly influenced by the king, right?
Look at grievance 11.
It goes on and on. He has kept among us on times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislature. This basically explains not just the armed forces that are stationed with the United States and other countries, but also the police forces of the United States. He has affected to render the military independent of the superior
and superior. Independent of and superior to the civil power.
Yeah. So
that's what when COVID happened, that was one of the things that people were really scared about, right?
Yes.
The fact that the government could use
the
military.
The reason why the United States was pretty much founded on the idea of like militia type military and not a standing military was because of the direct oversight of the military by the king, and they wanted it to be voluntary. They didn't want it to be essentially a enforcement arm of the king and his tyranny. It goes on and on and on. It's like every single one of these things
imposing taxes on us without our consent,
for depriving us in many cases of the benefit of a jury trial. Just think of the justice system as it is now. There's so many there's so many laws and supposed crimes, most of them victimless, that clog the system, that then they feel like they are obligated to levy the power of the system against defendants and force them into taking plea deals. Every young black male in America should understand this because they're affected by it, right? They get some trumped up bullshit charge, or it's a charge that actually is legitimate, but if they got a jury of their peers that understood jury nullification, they might actually be able to be found not guilty because the law is unconstitutional, i.e. there's no such thing as an illegal firearm, and yet they want to tell you what a legal firearm is. But because the system is set up the way that it is, they end up being strong-armed into taking a deal and go to jail for a couple of years or pay ridiculous fines and then have trouble getting a job for the rest of their life. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
You can go down all of these grievances, and you can almost everyone you can be like, what? What? When did this change?
I mean, he has excited domestic insurrections among us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. This is like the anti-American push that's happening right now internally, that happens with, say, the CIA and the FBI mobilizing domestic terrorists, right? Letting in people at the border that haven't been background checked and then used by the intelligence agencies to perpetrate some of these things that then are used by the legislature to pass anti-gun legislation, right? Like,
so
it just goes on.
Do you think
and
that
on and
either
on and on.
Trump or Biden know anything about the Declaration of Independence?
No way in hell. No. No,
I mean, like if one of them got up there and started like reading it,
no,
and was like, "Let's fix this," do you think you'd be like, "What?"
No,
I think I might pass out.
No,
I might be like, "Oh my god!"
Because the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution were both, they were violated within the first year and a half of them ever being put into place. I mean, like, the Declaration of Independence is not a system of government. It's essentially a listing of grievances and why the colonies are choosing to take the path that they're choosing, right? So it's a statement of intent.
It and you're like,
right?
But it's all the same again.
I mean,
it's strange. And then to hear people doing it, like when they read it in the reenactment, it's you really understand everything they're saying, right? And then on top of it, you hear everyone like, here, right? Like you're in the Renaissance Fair, you're like it's like really talking, like really getting into it. The whole place, whooping for it.
Yeah,
and you're like, but you're whooping for something that is still here.
Yeah, it's
a very surreal experience.
The ignorance of the American public is what makes them deserve the president that we will get here. And again, the idea of like the president that you deserve is also the idea of the president that you're going to listen to and revere. Right. And so even if you lose and your guy loses, but then you listen to the new president, well, you deserve that because you're not willing to part ways with a system that's obviously leveraged against you.
If you can like get your mind around the fact that if a majority of people don't vote and that's the majority, and then just 5% of the people vote for, like, that just to me blows my mind. And that we have to, in that sense.
I'm trying to pull up. So Patrick Smith at Anarchist on one of his websites has he goes by not your governor. I think it's not your or not governor on X. Patrick Smith actually wrote a Declaration of Independence that's like a new Declaration of Independence, but it like updates all of the grievances. Hold on.
Really?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it right now. I forget.
I would like to see that.
Here you go.
I own myself. I lead myself.
Yeah, here. I'm going to share this real quick. It's notgovernor.com. because he ran for, I believe, governor of Texas, saying that he's an anarchist, and he ran for governor of Texas, saying that he was basically not going to enforce any laws and that he was going to dismantle as much of the government as he could.
He was going to be a Javier Milei.
Kind of, yeah. All right, so this is the new declaration, the Universal Declaration of the Individual. Sorry, Declaration of the Individual.
Is it long? Are you going to be reading it for a long time?
It's 4 pages.
Yeah, you're
it's
not
like
going to read this whole thing,
significant.
are you? You just send people there.
But so here's the grievances, right? So if you go to notgovernor.com, it's like the first link at the top of the website. But here's the list of the grievances. They have forbidden me to freely and peacefully associate with and disassociate from other humans of my choosing in whatever means I deem appropriate, both in business and matrimony. They have ignored and trampled down my consent on all matters in which I may find myself the minority or the sole dissenter, affording no capacity to not be a part of their edicts. They, absent any existing victim, as a matter of course, threaten, accost, extort, rob, injure, and even murder innocent humans where no damaged property is to be found.
No damaged property.
Oh, sorry, party is to be found. Also property. They have twisted the good nature of they, in the name of protecting children, do frequently intrude on their childhoods and even kidnap them from their parents and homes without severe cause, giving them to strangers and leaving little recourse to their rightful caretakers.
Absolutely.
They have twisted the good nature of the very people capable of helping others by conducting mass extortion upon the productive and claiming to do so in those victims' names. Their quote-unquote welfare uses the resources of some to buy political power from others while actually helping very few, all in violation of individual consent. That would be the taxation is theft grievance. They, on pain of loss of livelihood, force involuntary association between myself and those that would employ me, those that would be employed by me, and those that would form unions or choose to remain free agents. This intolerable force they make a matter of course for employment relationships. So this basically steps through all of the different ways that government currently infringes upon what would be considered your individual, natural rights. Oh, sorry, if you want to go back.
I was just looking at one.
Which one?
They listen to my private conversations. They spy on my private communications. They hijack devices I own without limit or recourse. My expectation of privacy is completely disregarded.
Yes.
Every person should be able to completely relate to that.
Yeah, that's
100%.
That's the Edward Snowden grievance.
Wasn't it the new? There was someone who just put a new. You know how like every so often you have to terms and agreements. One of the big companies,
like the privacy agreements,
and they're I don't know if it was not TikTok. It was maybe it was an Instagram. It was one of them that it said anything you put up is property of us, and it went around this huge thing.
Well, it's been a Facebook thing.
No, it was a big one. It was a new one though. I'm going to remember it before we, it wasn't the social media so much, but it was something that most people use. It was interesting.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. And we don't even know. So I love that. I'm going to go post that and share that on my Facebook.
Yeah. I think we're good. It's hot in here.
It's freaking hot.
It's getting hot in her. We're not taking off all our clothes. It's not OnlyFans.
No, it's disgusting.
We're not that desperate.
It's gross. We're gonna have a fan by next week. We need to come up with what kind of guests we want. Is there anyone you want to see?
If you are interested in being a guest, or if you have someone you would like to see on the show,
or anything you want us to discuss,
definitely.
Are we going spiritually, politically? Where are we going?
We go everywhere because I think we just try to pick things that are taboo.
Do something.
What do you mean?
You wanted to tunnel in.
Of what?
On what we were talking about.
When?
I don't know. You said it to me.
That was very helpful. Thank you.
It was like last week.
No, I want to talk about literally all of the things that people say you shouldn't talk about.
Okay.
So
we're gonna get some guests next week. We're gonna have someone wonderful. I don't know who yet.
I mean, we'll talk about anything. We could talk about. I mean, we're just getting done with Pride Month, which is Obviously a hot topic amongst all groups. Yeah, because I mean, to quote one of our family friends, the moment that JP Morgan had a pride float, you knew that it was bullshit. But you know, we'll talk about anything. So if you want to see a guest, or you are someone that wants to talk about something, and you have, you know, some kind of background in it, or you're working on a project or something, please let us know.
We're going to be on a podcast.
We are. Probably next week, we're recording. I don't know if it's going to be released then.
We're going to do a 13 questions.
Oh, we can do a 13 questions podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were just on the 13 questions podcast.
I was just on this podcast, 13 questions. It was 13 random questions. We talked for an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. And it was so good. It was just we didn't know what questions were going to come up. And
it was a question generator, right?
Yeah, it was like a question generator.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Okay.
We should do that.
We're
going to do that.
I should reach out to someone big and just be like, hey, we want
13
to
questions.
ask you randomized
We won't know
questions.
what they are. We should bring someone fun.
Like Rand Paul? Should I reach out to Rand Paul?
Would he do it?
No.
I don't think so. You should do that with Anthony Fauci.
I could try. What? First question, randomly. Why do you still have a medical degree? All right. With that, that is the end of the broadcast this evening. We will be back here next Sunday at 7 p.m.
After
live.
Seeing Alanis Morissette and Joan Jett.
Oh, that's true. We're seeing, that should be fun.
Our daughter is so looking forward to it.
Yeah, this next week. So I'm not looking forward to the traffic.
The drive. Well, I think we should get there early.
Yes. Yeah. So, anything else to say?
I don't, no.
All right.
No.
If you made it this far, definitely hit the subscribe and help us out with a thumbs up, and even a follow or a share, depending on the platform that you watch or listen on. So with that, I think we're going to duck out.
Yeah, it's hot.
Right? It is hot.
Can't handle it.
Stay cool. We appreciate every single one of you
We're
for taking the time out.
next time.
And we'll see you next week.
We need a fan.
Peace.
Shackle your mind, it's time to redefine. You're the spiritual quest, leaving the rest behind. Ungovernable, breaking through the status quo. We untamable, watch our spirit elevating consciousness. Yeah, we on the rise. No system can hold us down. We're reaching new heights, breaking through the chains, breaking through the wall. Ungovernable energy, watch the